and this is Farmer Bob from BobCat Acres Times. Keep getting questions about our rabbits and how we process them and everything else. So today I'm going to show you how I skin and gut a rabbit here. This usually is going to take a little longer. This is the first one we're processing for the day. As you go along, it does get quicker. I've spared you from the deed, so to say. These have already been set out and hung out and let bleed. So one of the first things I do is I like to remove the ears, and you ask why, and the reason is that I dehydrate the ears and they make very good dog chew toys. So I remove the ears from the skull. I then can remove the skull from the head, which makes it handling the rabbit much easier. I usually come down where I had slit the throat, and that separates out. Then I can come along, and by the way, this is an American blue that we had, and who was just generally obnoxious to his brothers and everything else. So the next thing I like to do is I try to take the front feet off. And again, we save the feet to eventually do keychains. Remember, in our previous post on what we use our rabbits for, we use pretty much every part of the rabbit. You then can get down to your basic skinning techniques. So I like to start right above the tendons here. You notice I don't have him hung up. I usually work on a table for the smaller animals. And I slit down the inner thigh until I can get the skin to start to separate and get my fingers in there. Work it across. You see, it's still a lot of the fluffy undercoat tends to get in your way when you're doing this. But once you get the skin to peel off, it makes it a lot easier. The hind legs tend to be tougher than the rest of the body. So, and then I come up the other side. Now that I've got the skin separated here, I can then start pulling it down a little bit. And then taking it completely around the leg and separating out the skin from the leg. Again, these, it seems, especially with some of these, when you do the roasters, the skin tends to cling a little harder than on some of the fryers, the smaller rabbits. These bigger rabbits, their skin does tend to stick tighter to them. Then separate the tail from the back. And this way, the anal vent is separated from the skin. And now you can start pulling the skin completely down and away from any undesirable stuff. Yeah, another problem with this especially the American Blues, is that they are they're a fur type rabbit used in the fur industry, so their coats are very plush. which tends to make for skinning a little more difficult because the hair is everywhere.
Same with the standard Rexes.
Yeah, as our camera person there said, the same with this, when we used to breed standard Rex, we had the same problem. Okay, took a slight pause there. We had some interruptions. In the meantime, I've separated the skin from the back legs mostly, and now I'm just working my way down to remove the skin and the hide from the rest of the rabbit. Normally you can just pull this if you want. I have found sometimes when we do that the stomach cavity will rupture, and then you lose what I like to call is the flank steaks. And we use those for grinding, and it's just a little extra meat. It's not a huge amount, and if your time is more important than that little bit of extra meat, that's up to you. I like to keep it there. It also makes for a nicer finished product for sale, because the buyer sees that he's getting the entire rabbit. I've talked to some people who like to have them that way so that they can take them completely roasted, stuff them like a turkey or a chicken, and actually roast them. These are called roasters because of their size and can be roasted as such. Your smaller rabbits you do tend to part out. I'm actually guessing this guy is borderline for what I would do for a roaster, but again, he's an American Blue. They only get to about 8 pounds, by the 8, maybe 10 pounds, compared to the New Zealand's, which are much bigger. Now you can see it closer to the head. The reason for taking the front feet and the head off ahead of time. This will be slid right over. Finger through between the leg and the skin. Just poke a little hole, makes it a little easier. And pull the leg right out. Do the same thing on the other side. Now, this, all you have to do is contend with the neck. This guy had a lot of extra fat and meat I'm trying to save on him. He's been living the good life. And off. And now you have the completed skin done as what they call sleeved. You can then move on to the gutting and final cleaning process. So the next thing is to take the back legs off. Again, we save these for jewelry or whatever.
Kitty play toys. No, I'm kidding.
Exactly, cat play toys. As you can tell, this was a male. He sort of has some little appendages hanging out, which we will have to contend with. And then do a very careful slit to open the belly, the abdominal wall. And open up all the way down. And slit up to the breastbone. This is where the yucky part starts. Now we transfer our garbage bag here, the intestines and assorted other. Just so you can look, if you want to get a closer look, this is the liver. As you can see, it's a nice, healthy liver. Really, really nice liver. Put that off to the side here.
Wyatt would like that.
You can see there's the lungs and the heart. Again, no extra fat. Really nice rabbit.
One rabbit we did, it was all fatty all around his heart.
Yes.
Surprised he was still alive.
They got the pericardium, so that you can get all the way up to the heart, to the heart area. And we go to hose them out. Now we do the fun part, which is to remove the intestines out the back end, and as you can see, he's had lots of fat in here. Here's some more fat. He did have inner body fat, which meant he was living the good life on good feed.
Someone's playing with his fur.
Now be careful around here so you don't cut the intestinal wall, and then you pull the intestinal parts out from the back so you get no manure or anything that might still be in the system on their meat. You really want a readily available source of water so that you can clean up and clean off the rabbit. I'll clean off my knife too while I'm at it. Make sure the neck's all pulled clean.
We also wash the skin if we're going to keep it.
I'll get to it. And after rinsing and spraying, you can see if there's any bits of fur you need to still remove, which sometimes gets on them. And that's it. We've got a one processed rabbit ready for putting in the freezer.